If you have donated and have not received your video, shoot me an email. Also, don't forget to check your spam folder. I would like to thank everyone for their continued support. It means the world. Now let's get it.
Or do you want to marginalize me till I'm out of my moment?
Or why don't you empower yourself and don't need them and do it yourself?
How, Sway?
Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Let's refocus our attention on the American Southwest. We have discussed many characteristics of this region in previous episodes and the past history of the tribes of this region, and even some of the archaeological sites of this region. But this area is so chock full of hidden history, it's impossible to cover everything. It should not be overlooked that this region was once home to a massive population of people and differently stratified and structured civilizations. These various people have been left abandoned by the history books as if they never existed. And yet these various megacities of the American Southwest have a far larger civilizational footprint than even the largest cities in Eurasia and Africa, where they routinely overestimate the populations of cities like Alexandria, Memphis, London, and Rome. They routinely underestimate the populations of cities like Cahokia, Big Mound, Chichen Itza, Cholula, and Tenochtitlan, just to name a few. All cities in America larger than even their largest cities don't seem to play a role in their special world history. But who could blame them? It's not like America even existed to them 2,000 years ago. Have you seen a map from a first century European? Have you seen a Strabo map? Have you seen the Eratosthenes map? Have you seen a Ptolemy map? These were the standards of old world cartography. Taking a serious look at this map, we could not take these maps seriously, and yet they are held as the standard, and this was the world according to them. On some of these old world maps of Egypt, you'll be hard pressed to find even one pyramid, when they've taken the time to illustrate animals, trees, churches, and farms. One of the 7 wonders of the world. Must be why they couldn't take 7 seconds to illustrate a pyramid accurately. But that's beside the point. The point is that our version of history is relatively a new thing. So the attention to chronological detail is essential in order to unfold the fuckery. Charlatan's Web quote: "The Lost Lunas Decalogue stone is a hoax." They just go ahead and tell you it's a hoax associated with a large boulder on the side of Hidden Mountain near Los Lunas, New Mexico, about 35 miles south of Albuquerque. That area is a hotspot of conspiratorial ancient findings and discoveries. 35 miles south of Albuquerque that bears a 9-line inscription carved into a flat panel. The stone is also known as the Los Lunas Mystery Stone or Commandment Rock. The stone has gained notoriety in that some claim the inscription is pre-Columbian and therefore proof of early Shemitic contact with the Americas. Standard archaeological evidence contradicts this, however. There you go. Hit you with the double caveat. It's a hoax, and archaeological evidence contradicts this. Of course it does. Of course it does. On historical and epigraphic grounds, Gordon regards the Byzantine period as the most likely for the inscription. The Samaritan alphabet is a direct descendant of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. One argument against the stone's antiquity is its apparent use of modern Hebrew, or otherwise atypical punctuation. Though amateur apographer Barry Fell argued that the punctuation is consistent with antiquity. He's an amateur apographer, by the way. Other researchers dismissed the inscription based on the numerous stylistic and grammatical errors that appear in the inscription. You see what they do? They bust it for grammar all the time. Well, grammatically it's wrong. As if they had the guide to ancient syntax. I've busted the Associated Press and the New York Times on grammar. Does that mean when somebody pulls the newspaper article 1,000 years from now, it's a fake story? These guys were professors of ancient grammar. Languages the world has barely known for the last 100 years. All of a sudden, these people are experts. Other researchers dismissed the inscription based on the numerous stylistics and grammatical errors that appear in the inscription. And again, I'm not caping for the legitimacy of this rock. I have no opinion on its authenticity. My opinions mostly stem around these asshole archaeologists who claim they know everything about ancient language. Also accounted in the land of giants were the Zamzummines. Another giant mentioned in Deuteronomy chapter 3 is the Amorite king Og of Bashan, described as the remnant of giants. According to Deuteronomy, there are nations of giants who used to inhabit the land. So let's take a trip into the realm of mythology and mystery. Now, if you were to ask any scholastic charlatan about the existence of giants, they'll scoff and tell you they never existed. That every account of a giant human-sized skeleton found anywhere is a hoax. The subject of ancient giants was a well-known secret in America over 100 years ago. At the turn of the century, giants were being found everywhere. So for the purposes of research, let's take a look at some of these supposed hoaxes. America isn't the only place where giants have been found. There have been giants found on other continents. The point here is to show that there were races of giants living in America, more particularly the Southwest United States. And also to show you that in these areas have been excavated the greatest number of giants found anywhere in the world. And there are also giants that have been found all over the United States, including in the Ohio region, the Wisconsin region, the Michigan region, the Florida region, even in Georgia and West Virginia, and even in Pennsylvania. So when we look at these stories today, we all take them as hoaxes. Quote from 1902, archaeologists send expedition to explore graveyards in New Mexico where bodies were unearthed. Owing to the discovery of the remains of a race of giants in Guadalupe, New Mexico, antiquarians and archaeologists are preparing an expedition further to explore that region. This determination is based on the excitement that exists among people of a scope of the country near Mesa Rico, about 200 miles southeast of Las Vegas, where an old burial ground has been discovered that has yielded skeletons of enormous size. The first part of this paragraph is interesting because they're explaining how they've already found the remains of a race of giants in Guadalupe, New Mexico, and that archaeologists are preparing to further explore that region. This is already a bygone conclusion. So since they found giants in that area, they're excited about what else could be found in that area, and that's in Guadalupe, New Mexico. Luciana Quintana, on whose ranch the ancient burial plot was located, discovered two stones that bore curious inscriptions. Stones that bore curious inscriptions. And beneath those stones were found in shallow excavations the bone of a frame that could not have been less than 12 feet in length. The men who opened the grave say the forearm was 4 feet long, and that in a well-preserved jaw, the lower teeth ranged from the size of a hickory nut to that of the largest walnut in size. The chest of the being is reported as having a circumference of 7 feet. That's a wide body. Quintana, who has uncovered many other burial places, expresses the opinion that perhaps thousands of skeletons of a race of giants long extinct will be found. This supposition is based on the traditions handed down from the early Spanish invasion that have detailed knowledge of the existence of a race of giants that inhabited the plains of what is now eastern New Mexico. Indian legends and carvings also in the same section indicate the existence of such a race, end quote. And this was published in the New York Times in 1902. I know many people think the New York Times is a legitimate newspaper. They'll say if it's not published in the New York Times, I don't believe it. Well, here it is, published in the New York Times. Quote, race of primeval giants. New York, Tuesday. Quote, recent excavations made under the supervision of the faculty of Stanford University, California, indicate that the entire peninsula south of San Francisco was once inhabited by a race of giants. Professor Harold Heath of the zoological department of the university, according to a statement just given out by the faculty, has unearthed about 2 miles distant from the university several skeletons of men who were of great height and build. The prehistoric village, covering near 2 acres in the area, was the scene of Professor Heath's investigations. Stone hammers, bone owls, and ornaments found by his party indicate that the owners had attained considerable advancement in artisanship and civilization, end quote. So this is from the faculty at Stanford University. Uncovered a race of giants 2 miles south of the university. Ancient giants used to inhabit San Francisco.
He said Bonds drilled the ball, just annihilated it, but right to the second baseman who turned it into a double play the first time he faced him. Bonds swings, and there it goes. It's headed for the coming cone. It is gone, a home run.
Ancient giants used to inhabit San Francisco.
A shot that took 2 seconds to get out of here, over the wall, over the arcade, over everything. 2-1 Giants.
Quote, Days of the Giants, a skeleton relic of ideal prehistoric men. Quote, a huge skeleton of a man bearing indications of a prehistoric race have been discovered at Fort Garland, Colorado.